Welcome to Clever Dough Cakes. Today I'm going to show you how to make a silver YouTube play button cake. Hi, I'm Amanda Vandergulik from cleverdoughcakes.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make a silver YouTube play button cake. When a YouTuber reaches 100,000 subscribers, YouTube gives them a special silver YouTube video play button award to honor their amazing achievement. It would be so incredibly amazing to one day reach this level, so if you enjoy my videos, and you haven't already, then please help me reach this amazing goal and click on the subscribe button below, and make sure that you hit the notification bell so you'll be the first one to know each time I release a new video for you. Thank you so much to everyone who has already subscribed. I truly am so very honored that you enjoy my videos. Okay, now let me show you how to make a silver YouTube play button cake of your own. My son Quinn helped me make this special cake for his birthday. He is a huge fan of watching YouTube videos, and so for his birthday cake I wanted to create a YouTube play button cake for him. I was going to do a regular red YouTube play button. You know, that red arrow that you see on the YouTube videos that you have to click to start the videos? Yeah, that one. But as my fellow cake decorating fans will know, making red fondant takes a lot of red food coloring and will therefore make the fondant taste not very good at all, and it'll leave your cake eaters with a very red mouth and tongue. A few months ago I got married and I made my own wedding cake. My mom actually gave me this really fun edible silver dust to use on my wedding cake. Since I still had a ton of silver dust left, I decided to kick it up a notch and create a silver play button cake instead for my son. That way he could still have a cool YouTube cake. The fondant would still taste great and nobody would end up with red stained mouths. My son wanted a chocolate cake with mocha buttercream icing and my special homemade marshmallow fondant to top it off. He knew that the marshmallow fondant was a lot yummier than store-bought fondant and a lot more economic to make as well. So that's what we did. My son first baked Yolanda Gamp's deliciously moist chocolate cake recipe that we got out of her cake book, How to Cake It. I'll leave you a link for that in the description below. It is so delicious. While the cake was baking, he made the mocha buttercream icing and the homemade marshmallow fondant. I'll put those links in to how you can make them yourself in the description below as well for you. After the cake had cooled, Quinn used my offset spatula to loosen the cake from the pan and then turned the pan over to let the cake slide out. And we had used a casserole pan that was already very close to the shape of the YouTube play button, so that made the shaping of it so much easier to achieve. All we had to do was remove the crust and shave down the edges to round out the button shape, so that it looked like the YouTube button on the award that they send out. Then I cut out the triangle play part on the top of the button, so that later, when I covered it in fondant, that triangle would show through nicely. Then I sliced the cake in half and showered Yolanda's simple syrup on each layer to keep the cake nice and moist while we decorated it. We even created a homemade version of her famous Sir Squeeze-A-Lot simple syrup bottle to shower it on evenly. Then we layered the cake with yummy mocha icing that my son had made. Then, after we put the two pieces back together, I crumb-coated the cake so that all the little pieces would stick to the cake and not show through the icing later on. After the cake had cooled in the fridge for about 10 minutes to let the crumb coat harden, I covered the whole cake with a nice thick layer of the mocha icing that I had dyed gray to match the silver YouTube play button. Then I let that cool in the fridge for another 10 minutes to make it easier to put the fondant on. After it had hardened in the fridge, I smoothed the icing out even more by using the back of a spoon that I warmed up in hot water and then dried off with a towel first before smoothing it out the icing, so as not to make the icing wet, but to help melt it just a little so that it would end up nice and smooth. Another way to smooth out your buttercream icing is to warm up your hands using hot water in a cup, holding the cup so your hands don't get wet, but nice and warm, and then putting your hands to smooth out the cake. Then I rolled out the homemade marshmallow fondant that I colored gray to match the silver YouTube play button as well. I rolled it out large enough to cover the cake in one piece. Then, using the rolling pin to hold the fondant, I draped the marshmallow fondant over the cake, moved it into position before it stuck to the cake, and then quickly smoothed the fondant down around the cake, especially smoothing it into that YouTube play triangle part at the top and then smoothing it down the sides. I then pushed the fondant into the edges at the bottom, and then using a small paring knife, I trimmed the excess fondant off first, and then trimmed nice and close to the edge of the cake, pushing it down and inwards so that I was tucking in the fondant under the cake as I went along to make a nice smooth rounded edge to the YouTube play button. I balled up a piece of the trimmed off fondant that we no longer needed and used that to smooth down the inside edges of the play triangle to create nice, clean, sharp edges. My son then had fun spraying on the edible silver glitter dust all over the cake to make it sparkle like the real silver YouTube play button award does. You have to be careful not to breathe in the dust, especially anyone who has lung issues. Quinn just sprayed on a little at a time and let the dust settle, and then sprayed on some more, and that worked really well. It did leave me, however, with a very sparkly countertop and, yes, more sparkles throughout my kitchen.
YouTube doesn't need to give you a silver play button. You can make your own.
The cake looked amazing. One tip that we did learn, though, was to put on the sparkle dust either just before you serve it or soon enough to the event that you don't need to chill the cake. Because if you chill the cake, then when it warms up again, the fondant actually starts to sweat, and it makes the dust kind of melt into the fondant, and you end up with a freckled look, kind of like this. It still actually looked quite cool, and everybody loved it, but that's just a tip I wanted to share. My son was happy with his cake, and his birthday guests not only loved how it looked, they loved how yummy it was. Nobody peeled off the fondant, like they usually do when we use store-bought fondant that doesn't taste very good. They loved how yummy the marshmallow fondant was. If you enjoyed this video, then please give my son and I a thumbs up, and remember to click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you'll know just as soon as our next video comes out. And to thank you for watching this video right to the very end, head on over to cleverdoughcakes.com and you can download my Floral Wedding Cake Magic ebook for free, where I will share with you my yummy homemade marshmallow fondant recipe with you. Enjoy!